White people are the worst. From one white person to another.
I know. I like to think, Chris, that maybe we are so white that we're like translucent and we don't count.
Well, that's the thing. I know as one of them LGBTQ folks, I know that I am an ally of all communities because, why wouldn't you be? I guess because it's easier to live in Happy Valley in Kenya and be a white piece of shit, right?
Be a colonial motherfucker.
Imperialist scum.
Oh, worse. No.
Good Lord.
If you're not an ally, then get off the fucking planet, people. Don't be a dick. It's the easiest thing in the world not to be a dick.
Go work for the Great American Family Network. Have you heard about this?
It sounds awful. This immediately sounds racist.
The chick from Full House, Candace Cameron.
I'm about to say, I know it's not Kimmy Gibbler.
Candace Canders.
Canders?
What the hell's her name? Candace Cameron?
Candace Cameron.
She has something in common with Cameron. What's that other guy? The other asshole.
Her Cameron. They're siblings.
Are they really?
Mm-hmm.
No, they're not.
No, I'm serious.
Are they really?
Yes.
Well, then it should come as no surprise to you that she left the Hallmark Channel to go work for the Great American Family Network, where they're going to focus on Christmas movies with traditional marriages. Bigots. I love a good bigot, don't you? I was talking about this with Richard Haddam, and we were talking about cancel culture. Mm-hmm. It should be more about, now I know where you stand and I don't have to support you. This act being canceled, that's good enough for me. Yeah. You don't need to be canceled. Everybody's got a right to have a shitty opinion, but I just don't voice shitty opinions out in public because I know what happens if I do. Well, and I don't have shitty opinions about things for the most part. I mean, I guess subjectively it might be shitty to some people, but it's my opinion and I'm sticking to it.
Hell yeah. I feel like people that complain about, cancel culture. You know what real cancel culture is? Look at the fucking Joseph McCarthy trials. Those people lost their fucking livelihoods basically through a witch hunt. That's being canceled. Lenny Bruce was canceled.
Salem witch trial canceled.
Yeah, that was the ultimate. Death is the ultimate.
The ultimate cancellation.
But it's like, Tim Allen has more money than you and I probably ever will, Chris. He's fine.
Yeah, and he was a coke dealer at one point too. Never forget the greatest mugshot of all time.
That's the best thing he ever did. Fuck him.
Tim Allen's mugshot. And then not only that, but Tim Allen should be in jail. Do you know why Tim Allen's not in jail? Because he snitched and sold everybody out.
Oh God, I can't stand snitches. Yeah, snitches get stitches.
Yeah. Oh well, Henry Hill's a snitch.
Yeah, but we got Goodfellas out of that.
That's
home improvement is no Goodfellas.
Da-na-na. Who that? Like that was the whole show. The whole show was just Tim Allen going. Like what are we watching? Like the equivalent of an asshole farting on screen for an hour? Sorry, I kind of liked Tim Allen, so I'm not dragging the guy, but he's in the Santa Claus. Who, when I think of actual Santa Claus, I just happen to think of Tim Allen, so that's a problem.
I think of Christmas Evil.
I think of Bill Goldberg.
Yeah,
Santa's sleigh. God, and him killing Fran Drescher.
Oh my!
The best part of the movie is the first 5 minutes, and then everything else is downhill from there.
Isn't there a scene where somebody tries to put like a cross on him or garlic, and he says, "I'm not fucking Dracula"?
Yeah, it's pretty great. Bill Goldberg, WWE champion, how many times over now?
Like 8 million.
Since Santa's sleigh came out, a lot.
way too much, probably. Yeah.
Old white bastard. Speaking of old white bastards, on this episode of the Kulturecast, Heather and I, Heather Drain of places such as Mondo, Heather, and Diabolique.
Yes, right. I'm like places. I was going to say parts unknown.
From parts unknown, dude. You're a friend of mine, Heather Drain, and it's just Heather. It's just Heather and I, and that's it. Much to the chagrin of many, I'm still the host of the show. Right? Who actually gives a shit?
Who are these people? This is where I turn into like that, like a member of Mayhem from that heavy metal documentary, A Headbanger's Journey, where the guy's like, well, what do you think about people criticizing you? And he's like, where are they?
Yeah, who are these people?
Where are these people? Fuck them.
Show me these people, please.
Yeah. I was like, where are these people, Chris?
I'm gonna get them. The couple people that are like, he's still hosting that show out in Radioland. Listen, everybody, out in Radioland tonight, we're gonna be talking about a film that you've never heard of, that I've never heard of, but it's based off of a book with a really funny title. And the movie is coincidentally about, well, white people getting into trouble. It's 1987's Michael Radford directed White Mischief.
In 1940, the very rich came to Africa for fun and games. But after you've seen it all, after you've lived it all, after you've had it all, and each other, what comes next? White Mischief.
You wouldn't, by any chance, have a chocolate-covered lobster?
From Columbia Pictures, rated R.
Which sounds like an amazing perfume you would get at Walmart for the Christmas time season.
This summer. From, who would be the person who was like the face of that?
Morgan Fairchild.
I was going to say Roseanne. White Mischief. By Roseanne. By Bar.
I don't think that would smell good.
It would smell like it would smell like old fryer grease and like mothballs. And bigotry, obviously, because, talking Roseanne. You can't talk Roseanne without being a bigot. Oh, so
no, what? God. The cheese slid off that cracker. I do love me some early Roseanne. The show, the show was good. The
show was funny.
Seasons, yeah. But
she's a psycho fucking asshole. But psycho.
That's fine. She's like that one cousin that you don't want to talk to
or talk about because then you think they'll hear you.
Yeah, and all of a sudden you'll run into them like at a Kroger or something.
Like that, a Kroger. For all of you living in the South, all y'all
Piggly
Southerners. The Piggly Wiggly.
Piggly Wiggly.
Good God. The Wag-A-Bag. That's the one. Down at the Wag-A. There's a place down the street from where my wife grew up called... Was it the Giddy Up and Go?
Was it a brothel? Because that'd be amazing.
Gitty, Gitty and Go. Gitty Up and Go. My favorite, there's a place around here that is unironically named, and I shit you not, the Come and Go.
Oh, no, we have those around here, too. And it's like K-U-M.
With the sexy wolf?
I never noticed the sexy wolf, but it's spelled K-U-M.
Yeah.
So it looks super nasty.
Yeah, somehow trying to make it less gross made it worse.
Oh, God. You know what's...
And go.
What's
definitely come.
What's sad? There's a Central United Methodist Church in this area, and their website is CUM Church.
Well, it's like what's the there's a Two Men in a Van. Have you ever seen their website? I believe their website is twomen.com, twomen.com.
Oh,
which I mean, like
T women. No, there's nothing wrong with that. But
there's nothing wrong with it. But I guarantee people going to twomen.com are not looking for that.
They're like, what?
That's a lot of vans.
Yeah,
with two men and a van. Yeah, 2 men in a truck. Yeah, T women truck or T women in truck. It's like, guys, you had one job. So Heather, I'm just going to ask you because before we even let me introduce the movie. So the movie is directed by Michael Radford. It stars Greta Scacchi. Scacchi, excuse me. Greta Scacchi. Not Scacchi.
Not Scacchi.
Listen here, Greta Scacchi.
Listen here, Scacchi.
Listen here, Scackaroo. No, it stars Greta Scacchi, Charles Dance, who many of you will probably know from his stint on Game of Thrones, and Diplomatic Immunity, Joss Ackland. I mean, what can you say other than literally that line and nothing else? And Anthony Head's brother and Two Night in Bangkok haver, Murray Head. And John Hurt. John Hurt is in the movie. I don't know why.
5 minutes.
Yeah. And the movie is, like I had mentioned, based off of a book of the same name by James Fox. And it is all about a group of white folks, primarily Brits, who are expatriates in the 40s in Kenya, up to, just being hedonists in this place called the Happy Valley. And one of them gets killed and there's a trial and the movie meanders. And God, I'm not even sure what we're going to talk about, but here we are. So Heather, tell me about your experience with White Mischief, a movie that I'm going to go out on a limb here and say you had not seen before.
That is a safe limb. Yeah, and I'd mentioned this to Chris before a few days ago, because this film I feel like it used to play on cable a lot in the 90s. So I would see it. I'd see it mentioned, and I was familiar with Greta Scacchi and Charles Dance, but I never saw it. Probably because this film toes the line of being like, they try to make it look a little saucy, but it's very respectable. It's like a Regency drama, but with boobs. Like, that's basically what it is. And but I was always curious because it's like, well, it's a good cast. I love John Hurt. I fucking love Murray Head. Okay, Murray Head brings to my heart such happiness. And he's not in this film nearly enough, but he's in a white suit looking like a Bond villain. So I'm down.
Is he falling asleep a lot in this movie?
Not
or am I thinking of someone else?
No, he's asleep in the courtroom scene.
Okay, he's the one sleeping in the courtroom, just hanging out. He's thinking of literally doing anything else.
He's thinking about all the lurid atrocities.
Yeah,
that's my version of the movie. But no, and I didn't realize until researching for this podcast that this is actually based on like historical events.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 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 That has again, we're not British, so that's probably why we don't know this case. It's still unsolved, so there is that, I guess. But it's weird. I'd never heard of this movie before, but I was just kind of going through IMDb and Wikipedia at the beginning of October because I wanted to get November programmed ahead of time, and I actually don't remember how I got to this movie. It was probably something to do with Charles Dance, and it sounded interesting. I'd never heard of it. Maybe it's a gem, a lost gem. No. It's unfortunate, like you said. I think that we may be echoing a lot of what Jess and I talked about on the last episode when we talked about Deceiver, another movie with on paper, it's like communism. It works on paper. Like everybody shares everything until everybody doesn't want to share everything. It's similar to this movie. This movie has a great cast on paper, great director on paper. Jesus Christ. And then, oh my God, cinematography by Roger Deakins on top of everything else. Like, it has everything going for it. And then, just a fart, just like a very wet fart. Just I don't know how else to describe it.
The cinematography, this is a gorgeous. I mean, I'm kind of surprised that this film isn't at least a little bit of a bigger deal because of Roger Deakins.
I know. And that for me was the weird part. When I saw what's funny is like everybody involved is a big deal, including the cinematographer now.
Yeah.
Like Roger, I don't know if a lot of people, like just casual moviegoers know a lot of cinematographers other than Roger Deakins because of his work with Sam Mendes and Denis Villeneuve and Chris Nolan, right? Or am I thinking of somebody else? He's worked with Chris Nolan, right? No,
I think he has. No, has he not?
No, I don't know.
He's worked with a lot of people.
Yeah, but we worked with Ron Howard on A Beautiful Mind. He worked with Tim Robbins on Dead Man Walking. He worked on fucking Shawshank Redemption. He's been nominated 15 times for best cinematography.
He's legit. And this movie, I mean, and the wardrobe too. Like, there's a lot of which, I think the thing with this film, it's almost, and I'm curious what you think about this, Chris, because I've been thinking about this a lot since I finished it, is that because it's based in history, but it's not entirely accurate, which I think they do have like a thing in the credits at the end saying, there's some liberties taken here, but it toes this line where it's just kind of in the middle because it's not historical enough to really, especially because you could do, I think, some interesting commentary with the whole colonialism. You don't even have to make the film all about it, obviously,
which is barely about it to begin. I mean, it's barely about it to begin with. I guess.
No, no. I mean, it's like it's it's weird because it's an obvious factor,
right?
But at one point you even have one of the guys, like, I'm trying to think I don't think is it Josh Ackland's character or like his buddy who's like even older than him. I can't remember that character's name. Like, I think in my notes I said Apple Doll, like Colonel Apple Doll.
Colonel Applebottoms.
Colonel Applebottoms calls like what refers to one of the Messiah. The Messiah is like, hey boy. Like,
yeah, they're
Southern.
They're calling him Buana. They call him Buana all the time. You know what Buana means, right? Like master.
Yeah.
Like boss. Which ain't great. But again, I mean, that's in 1941.
That's fair.
Yeah.
but it's just weird. It's like having this kind of elephant in the room that they never even kind of even halfway. Right. And again, you don't have to make the whole movie about it, but kind of go into it more. But also this whole thing of like, okay, they're decadent. These are all aristocrats that are kind of slumming around in Happy Valley in Kenya. And we're supposed to believe that they're decadent. But I didn't really, I thought the decadence was kind of lame.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, these, again, these people none of the people in this movie are worth cheering for or rooting for. They're all rich, conceited turds for the most part. And yeah, they live in the middle of nowhere in Kenya to hide away from World War II because they're a bunch of rich white assholes and they can do that. And I am actually in agreement with you. This movie should have been effectively The Great Gatsby. Okay. Hello, phone. This film should have been The Great Gatsby set in Africa. That is what I was expecting. That's what the poster more or less promises.
Oh, the poster is complete Gatsby design,
right?
And which is weird because I can't imagine if somebody went into this film just on that alone, and then they watch the movie and they're kind of like, oh, like, and I mean, it's middling. It's like, and if you're gonna have decadence, go full. The only decadence we really get is there's that one character who bathes nude
in front of all of her friends.
Oh, and then she blows the feather. And whoever gets the feather is supposed to have their way with her. And then I believe it's Murray Head. And he's like, this part I did love because it's Murray Head and he's great. Where he's like, he says it, but like, oh, Christ sakes, I've been fucking her for weeks. Let somebody else do it. And I did cheer a little bit. I was like, oh, Murray. But that's the thing too, is like, you don't care. I mean, it's not even just that these characters are terrible people. You can make a movie about terrible people and have it be really interesting.
Yeah.
It's just most of these characters are kind of like not fleshed out enough to be interesting. Like even Greta Scacchi's character, especially, and she's a good actress. I've seen her in other movies and thought she's great. But her character's job is basically to be pretty, and
she does that very well.
And she's gorgeous, but that's it. Like that's it. Oh, and she shows her boobs.
Which I would point out, I think you would agree, completely unnecessary unless they were doing it all the time, which they're not. I mean, you want to have decadence and you want to really lean on it, have everybody naked, or, not like all the time, but like more of that. Because that scene that you're talking about, like in the first 15 minutes of the movie, I think set the idea up for where I thought it was going, and then it abandons it immediately once Greta Scacchi's character shows up. Then she's, they stop following Charles Dance's character and his kind of sexual, whatever, I guess like his sexual innuendos that he's getting. I mean, he's, whatever. Get weird ass is weird ass. No worries. Who gives a shit? But
there should have been
more. Like, don't blue ball the movie by trying to be like, well, this is a movie about decadent British assholes in the middle of Africa. It's like, no, it's not. It's about a bunch of people in the middle of Africa who shouldn't be there. But I don't get the sense that these people are living their best life. Like, I wanted to see more of that because, like you have kind of already mentioned, I think it would help with the characterization of some of these characters who are paper thin. Like Charles Dance is an amazing actor. He elevates projects like Last Action Hero from a good Schwarzenegger movie to a Schwarzenegger movie actually worth watching. And he makes Game of Thrones a better show by being on it. But even he is not given anything to do in this movie, like literally nothing.
And he is such a dynamic like presence actor. Like he has such a commanding presence.
Right.
And
that's why he's on Game of Thrones, is because he commands the scene the first time you see him. He's fucking skinning that boar or whatever the fuck he's doing.
Oh.
And he commands that fucking scene as Tywin Lannister. I just, what were they thinking?
I know. Well, and I mean, it's like, why didn't we almost feel like I would have loved to see Ken Russell or a director like that?
Yes, 100%.
Russell would bring the decadence, but also kind of bring like, it's kind of like when you see decadence and say like Bob Fosse's Cabaret, like another director I love, where the decadence you realize is less about like what people tend to say decadence, like, oh, they have a threesome and they're drinking vodka. Yeah, it's something like that. No, but you realize the real decadence is kind of the corruption. It's the corruption. That's the decadence. That's a true moral decadence. It's not sex. It's not drugs. It's not liquor. It's it's the colonialism. It's the corruption. It's also people just sort of wasting their lives.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, show and that's the thing is I thought everybody was dressed way too nicely because actually there's not a lot of photos I could find of the actual Happy Valley crew, but they're dressed a lot more sensibly.
Right.
Which it makes sense because you're out in Kenya. Why would you be wearing like all of these like silk gowns and like
I know what I would be wearing, like what the native people wear, like the one piece like dress thing. I don't know what you would call it. When I was in India, I bought something like that because it gets so fucking hot. Like you got to have something like that. And I don't think you're like naked underneath it, but you probably have like underwear on, but like it is flowy and it allows for you to cool off in the hot African sun. Like why are they wearing suits? What the fuck? Like, are you fucking assholes out of your minds? For real? Are you out of your minds?
Yeah. And I mean, and then my brain started going to really like superficial places where it's like, and that's not a good thing when a serious movie, you're watching it and you're like, how do these women have access to all these curlers? How do they have time for all these elaborate hairdos? Like Greta Scacchi has this amazing updo with this pinned hat while mourning her lover. Spoilers for anybody. Charles Dance's character. I guess we should get into that. Her character and his character are, of course, pulled by the libidinous heat of having a torrid love affair with the monkey named Cornelius. Oh, now that movie I would watch.
A monkey named Cornelius and me had a torrid love affair. Like, okay, I would watch that.
That's decadent.
Yeah, that's something. That's a whole lot of fur balls is what that is.
Whoa. Oh, my God. She hated sex with a monkey?
Yeah. What in the hell? That is decadence right there.
We call it too much monkey business.
Not enough monkey business.
Oh,
gross.
But it's nasty. But of course, she's arrived there with Joss Ackland, and he's much older, and she's married him for money. But she seems to be honest about that. So I guess good
and
for
he
her.
is too. He's like, I don't care if she fucks around on me. I know she needs it, but like, you don't have to be so goddamn obvious about it.
She might as well be sitting on Charles Dance's face at the bus stop. Like they have no game at all. It's like, ma'am, come on, like at least be a little discreet. But but that's the thing is that you realize he really loves her, but does he? Because like, what's lovable about her? I mean, she's beautiful, but that's it. Like, we're not really shown any other human traits. I mean, she's not a total demon or anything, but she's not really. She doesn't feel like a human. She feels like a paper doll. Like she looks beautiful, but it's like paper. And I think that's the problem. I think you said paper thin earlier with the characters, and that nails it.
Yeah, it's there. When you have an actor like Charles Dance or Joss Ackland, for that matter, you have actors who bring a certain level of gravitas to a role. Even Charles Dance is pretty young in this movie. This is very early on in his career because this movie came out in 1987. So his first movie he's in is in 1981, which he was in For Your Eyes Only, which is wild to think about.
Wow.
But he's really young in this movie, and you would think like they would be able to lean on like his performance and him being a dashing rogue. And but I you know what I wonder? I wonder if they couldn't get Pierce Brosnan for this role because that's what it feels like. Would this not have maybe worked a little bit better if it had been Pierce Brosnan?
Maybe, or I mean, this is really out of the box, but this is my box, and I'm just gonna do this. Rip Torn.
I'm not sure how much sense that would make.
It would make no sense, but it'd be hot as hell. Are you kidding?
Africa. We're not hosting an intergalactic kegger.
Oh my God. He shows up to the set like on 8 tabs of acid, and it's like he's like, it's gonna get wild, kids. And
I'll show you decadence.
Yeah, his dick's full out.
Slapping his wiener on a table. It's like, I'm here.
Why didn't we have any male nudity? That's decadent.
I do not. Okay, let's talk about that for a second.
That's good decadence.
I agree, and it's it's not just because I'm bisexual. It's because I genuinely do not understand why the bulk majority of nudity in film has been placed upon the shoulders of women. Like, why? Why?
Agreed. And I mean,
dick is just as good to see as breast, which I'm not, again, I don't even understand why anyone cares if a woman bears her breasts or not. I can walk down the street with my shirt off. All guys can, and nobody says anything. I don't know why. Like, if everybody's up, yeah, it's stupid. It's fucking stupid. It's a complete and utter double standard. And cinema, I mean, speaking of a show that Charles Dance was on that took fucking flack for too much nudity with the female actors and none with the male actors, Game of Thrones took heat for the longest time because they had plenty of female nudity and no male nudity.
Yeah, and that's bullshit. Like, I know Charles Dance is older now, but he's probably what we would call an HOM, which is a hot old man. So
I thought you were trying to be French. He's a home.
Oh, he's that too. But I'm just saying,
yes. Yeah, no. Also, that
the male body can be very beautiful. The female body can be very beautiful, but it's art. People don't always have to necessarily be beautiful. I literally have an Egon Schiele postcard a good friend of mine sent me, and Egon Schiele's nudes. I mean, everybody's kind of angular and sort of like they don't look quite human, but almost too human. Like they're not beautiful per se, but they're compelling. Give us that nudity. And I don't know why it's like this uptight Puritan bullshit of where it's like, you know, you could have boobs and that's fine. But if a man is eroticized, and I also think some of that's homophobic too. I think people, you know, and
I don't want to see a PP on my screen. Take that PP off my screen.
Free. We want to see the penis. Free the penis.
What if we called it the PP?
I don't like that. I'm not a fan of that.
That's the soundbite of the ages. What? Free the penis. What if we call it PP? Never mind. Keep it where it was.
You imagine what a boner killer that should have been in White Mischief. You want to talk about decadence, where he's like, "I want to make love to you," and she goes, "Let me see your PP."
Let me see your wiener.
Yeah.
Let me see your wiener.
Yeah, your weenus.
Show me your weenus. I really fail to understand how we're supposed to feel anything for the characters in this movie. How there's any amount of tension, how there's any amount of charisma or interaction of value between any of these characters. I genuinely don't think anything could have been done other than just scrap the fucking script. There's a good movie here, right? Like somebody could take this film and this setting and the kind of disparity between, you know, the white colonizer imperialist turds and Kenya and, you know, the middle of nowhere. This is ripe for some shithead now, some real auteur to come in and make, you know, like you said, I mean, Ken Russell would have knocked this out of the park.
Oh my God.
He would have, like, you're
epic.
totally right. And it would have had weird dream sequence shit and God, who knows? Well, there would have been phalluses everywhere because it's Ken Russell movie. You know, Greta Scacchi is fucking herself with Charles Dance's femur, that kind of stuff, you know, the Devil's style.
Oh, Charles Dance would have been Oliver Reed, and that would have been hot as hell too.
Oh fuck, that's who they should have cast in this movie. They should have just put Oliver Reed in this movie.
Oh my God, I just got the papers.
Fucking Oliver Reed, holy cow. Talk about someone who anytime they're in anything they elevated, even if it's a TV movie.
Oh my God.
I mean, he would have been too old at this point to play the character that Charles Dance is playing.
Not for Mama.
Not for me, he wouldn't have.
Yeah.
I mean, but again, that's why I said the thing about Pierce Brosnan, but I don't think even Pierce Brosnan being cast in this movie would have helped. This movie came out in 87 and it feels like it came out in 81, you know?
Not in a good way.
No, in like the worst possible way. This movie comes out firmly in the 80s and it feels like it came out at the tail end of the 70s. And it feels like it was a 70s TV movie on top of everything else.
I think you just nailed it right there. It does have, and I mean, and that's not to despair. I mean, there's some amazing TV movies out there, but this doesn't feel like one of them.
Bad TV movies. There are bad TV movies, and those are the ones we're talking about.
Absolutely, and it's just, and it is sad because, like, I mean, honestly, the only character I found fascinating, and it's the one we literally, not counting like really background characters, we almost get the least of, or pretty much, is the John Hurt character, because like he's almost like, I mean, I doubt they were thinking this, but to me, he almost seemed like he was kind of on the spectrum.
Or he was insanely gay.
And hot? No,
I mean, I
love
mean,
John Hurt.
I mean, he has daddy vibes in this movie.
Yeah,
with that hat and the mustache, and the quiet demeanor.
The quiet demeanor. That hat was very like.
Is he gay? Like, I don't understand. Like they have that scene where Greta Scacchi's like, "You loved him more than I did," and it's like, was that what's going on?
That's an interesting read, but I don't think this film was thinking that hard, to be honest.
I don't know. I mean, there's that scene where he's like, "Marry me and I'll fix everything." And he's like, "Well, you're attractive." It felt like something a closeted gay man would say. Do you know what I mean? Like, wow. Your boobs feel like sand. You know what I mean? It's like that. It was the way I read this, the way I read the John Hurt character was either gay or bisexual, closeted either way. And he's in love with Charles Dance's character. That's why he like never he refuses to fuck the character at the beginning of the movie. He kind of just walks away. He's kind of this weird cipher because he clearly doesn't belong. And then at the end of the movie, he tries to fix the situation the only way he knows how, which is to, marry Greta Scacchi as his beard. But in doing so, she would never have to worry about money again. She would never. Right. And they do end up getting married. They mentioned that at the end of the movie, but that was my read. Don't know if it was intentional, but it kind of feels like it. Because there's that whole, like, you loved him more than I did. And it's like, well, is he gay? Again, it doesn't matter because the movie never says, but that was my read. How wrong, how off am I, you think?
I actually kind of like that. I mean, to be honest, like, I don't think it helps that we're not given anything else about him other than he lived with the Maasai only.
Right.
Like no British people for over a year. He could speak the language because we do get a brief scene where he says something to one of the Maasai. They hang out in his house. There's that really cute scene where this little girl reaches over and touches Greta Scacchi's hair. And so he seems like the most likable of the awful colonizers, but we know very little about him. I mean, I don't think that reads wrong because I just wish we knew more. Because it's like, if that's the read, that's fascinating, and I'd like to know more about this character. Or if he's really attracted and he finds something compelling about Greta Scacchi's character, well, we're not shown enough of her character as a human to understand why he would. I mean, she's pretty, but there are other pretty girls.
Yeah. I mean, there are plenty of other women in this movie. Sarah Miles, Geraldine Chaplin.
There's that one with the cute little bob cut that looks like a member of Shakespeare's sister.
I think that may have been Susan Fleetwood. She has like the really short hair, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There
are plenty of other women. Like, I don't get it.
It's not like she's on the island of Ernest Borgnine women. Okay. These are some foxy ladies.
Yeah. Well, of course, they're a bunch of rich white assholes.
Yeah.
They're good looking, erudite, even one might even say. It's weird. I think it just goes back to this issue with the script being, it was not much. Like, it's very muddle headed because it feels like they want to show you Africa and shoot in Africa and show you Roger Deakins cinematography and really give you a reason to care about these characters, but they really fail at that second part because it's a very beautiful movie. But it's not anything special. It's a nice looking movie for 87, but it's not anything special. It's really not. Like, cinematography aside, like, the movie itself's not great. Cinematography is good, but it can't elevate a bad script. Like, the only thing that can elevate a bad script is the movie being fun. Like, the movie just happens to be a fun kind of lark, and so a bad script can kind of be overlooked as long as I'm having a good time. But I think the worst thing about this movie is I was bored throughout, actively bored. The movie was not entertaining. It just kind of plodded along.
There's not enough mischief.
Right. Where's the white mischief? There's a lot of white, but not a lot of mischief.
Way too much white. The reason I thought John Hurt's character turned down the lady in the tub is I don't know, and this was my very loose read because again, we're not told enough about him, but I thought maybe he was probably like, maybe he doesn't like the idea of like getting on them sloppy seconds.
But he lives in Happy Valley, like that, where everybody is like banging one another.
Yeah.
I don't know,
but we see no banging. That's the thing. That it's not. If you're going to be this like beautiful decadence, go full hog in it. If you're kind of trying to tell this dramatic story, then put him. Flesh out your characters, flesh out the drama. But it's in the middle. It's just like in this weird tepid zone. as a film. And I hate it because it does have so many strong points and it's gorgeous. The wardrobe's gorgeous.
Oh yeah, the set design is just it does a really good job of having a good time or setting it in a convincing time and place and nailing, I think, again, it's a nice looking movie in so many ways. The set design, the production value, it just, why give us nothing to work with? Why give us nothing as the audience to really like chew on? I don't get it.
Well, and especially actually there's another character I feel like they kind of fumble with, and that's the Sarah Miles character. Because we don't get a lot of her. We briefly see a scene where she has a needle, so it's like, okay, I guess she's a junkie. She's on heroin or morphine. Can you shoot up morphine?
Sure,
yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, why not? Let's find out. Let's go get some.
Yeah, after the show, Chris and I are going on a road trip.
Yeah, we're gonna get some. I'm gonna drive and see Heather, and we're gonna go do morphine together. We'll be back, possibly never.
We're going to back country. We're getting morphine. We're getting ether.
We're somewhere around Barstow when the drugs begin to kick in. Fucking love that book. Love that movie. Let's talk about that fucking book and that movie, please. Jesus, we could talk for an hour about one scene in that movie. Genuinely, like one scene in that movie is better than this movie in its entirety.
That's true. But there is one scene with Sarah Miles that I think we would be remiss if we didn't talk about.
God.
And this is the one, I would say, the only truly decadent, mischievous thing in the whole film.
Ken Russell-esque, one might say.
It was, but Ken would shoot it better.
Yeah.
He would have shot it better, and it would have been way more like, to set it up. So Charles Dance's character has been murdered, and everybody's visiting the body, and Sarah Miles was in love with him, and she's a little crazy because it's Sarah Miles, and she's amazing. And again, she's wasted. Another great actor, kind of wasted in this movie.
And her character's like she's playing a real life person who was a suspect in the murder of the real life character that Charles Dance is playing, and I guess she's like a rich American. So she's the kind of the odd man out here.
Right. Even though she's still sounding kind of British.
Right. I mean, the real Alice DeJans is a American. So
right.
I have no idea. She was born in Buffalo, New York. So if she's speaking British in this movie, that's one of those creative liberties that they took.
Yes. But
she's fucking Sarah Miles is British, so that's why.
Right. But her character starts, before she's even fully up to the body, starts shoving her hand down in her crotchal region.
Crotchal? Oh, man.
Her groinal. Her lady. Her lady parts.
I love that part.
Her lady parts. And she's like, it's like she's digging. Like she is digging around in there. It's covered. It's not explicit. There's no pubes because we can't have nice things in White Mischief, but she's clearly got her. She's
going for it.
And I love people. Even the guard is like, "Ma'am, please stop.
You're scaring the straights.
Please stop masturbating by this corpse." And then but it gets even better. She takes her hand out and wipes her juiced up hand. It doesn't look juicy. That's what I was gonna say. If it was Ken Russell, it would be dewy. It would be like almost like
moist.
That creepy.
Yikes, bro.
It's like
oh Jesus,
that flarp
mother
stuff?
of God. Yeah.
It's like I almost would love that if they put that sound effect when she's digging, like that. Because I'm 12, but she
just becomes a chainsaw. Oh, she's really giving it to herself. Around mile marker 4, everybody.
Yeah. And she's like, my clit's gone.
I rubbed it off. It's just gone. I rubbed it off. Why is you jerking off next to Charles Dance's body, lady?
But my favorite, she wipes her hand that is tainted by her tunnel of love. Oh. And she goes, now you're mine forever.
Oh.
And it's like, can you imagine that wedding ceremony?
Oh, yes.
Smell the finger. She literally does the smell the finger.
Yeah.
And you have this in the middle of this fairly, like you said, Chris, it's not the most exciting movie in the world.
Pretty tame for a movie called White Mischief.
I mean, it's about as decadent as Out of Africa.
You know what? I would rather watch Gorillas in the Mist. That's a more exciting movie than this.
I would rather watch Gorillas than Her Mist.
Gorillas in Her Midst.
In Her Midst. But spoiler alert, those aren't real gorillas. So this ain't no deep web show. Okay.
What about Gorillas in Her Midst?
In her midst, like she's like she's stealing gorillas and selling them on the black market. In my midst.
In my midst. God, I think it's also very telling when you have a movie like this and you have someone like Joss Ackland as the main character of the movie, right? He is the main character.
He is, yeah.
Right.
He's the one we certainly get the most information about.
Right. And it's funny because, how many times is Joss Ackland in a movie as the lead? Great character actor, obviously.
Wonderful. And I were you distracted by his mustache though?
Oh, fucking got him so hard. Yeah, his mustache is wet. Not great.
It looked like it was missing some hairs, and I kept wanting to just be like, maybe just shave it, like
shave that thing off, man.
Yeah, but it's like, I'm an old British man with land in Kenya, and here's my little pencil thin mustache that's shitty. I don't know.
The Boston Blackie kind. That's what Jimmy Buffett said. Yeah. Two-tone Ricky Ricardo jacket. I love that song. I don't care.
I don't even know what song that is.
Pencil thin mustache.
Is it? Oh, see, I'm not as familiar with the Jimmy Buffett discography.
His oeuvre.
I just think of two things with the Buffett. One is coconut shrimp. And the other is that what is that comedian, Chris Fleming, who's this amazing comedian, and I don't know their gender pronouns, so I'm gonna say they, just to be on the safe side, because he's she, very androgynous, amazing. I love Chris Fleming, but he does this whole song they do this song about Jimmy Buffett and how Jimmy Buffett's a siren song for giving up your dreams and goals in life when you hit a certain age. And this whole line about, I ate so many mozzarella sticks that my fingernails don't grow.
Have you ever been to Margaritaville? I have. It's a lovely time.
Did you love it?
Oh, it's lovely. I've been to a Jimmy Buffett concert.
5. How many stars? 1 out of 5.
So it's oddly specific. I can tell you the exact Margaritaville I went to. I went to the Margaritaville in Universal Studios, Florida, on their boardwalk. They have a plane outside. They have a volcano. The song plays every hour on the hour, and they dance. It's like Joe's Crab Shack, right? If you're into that sort of thing.
I have been to a Joe's Crab Shack. I've not been to a Margaritaville, and it was an awkward family dinner because it was with my. Well, I probably shouldn't say because there are people involved in this story that are still living. But let's just say I had to play the buffer.
Oh, fun.
Anybody that's in a family that has some relatives with some, let's say, spicy opinions.
Oh.
And I don't mean spicy in a fun Rip Torn waving his weenus around. I mean spicy and I don't care who you voted for, because I know whoever it's going to be somebody that's utter trash bag.
You're saying they're the Candace Cameron type of person.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I hear you.
The last several years have really worn me out on that job.
White mischief.
All that white mischief is. I think I'm retiring as a buffer, is what I'm saying. I can't do it.
It's mind-boggling to me that the best part of this movie is Joss Ackland, and they didn't do anything more with him, and that his character is kind of unceremoniously taken out of the equation in the last 2 minutes of the movie. It's okay.
I had issues with that, especially not just because the real figure did commit suicide, but it was via morphine and it was a year later. They had already divorced. So it's, I guess that's less dramatic, but I actually think that's more sad.
Right.
And less obvious than him. For no reason, he hasn't been super crazy jealous up until this very last section where all of a sudden he's chasing around with a gun.
It's the second part of the third act.
Yeah. I mean, it's literally towards the very end of the movie. And he kills a dog.
Oh my God. Can we talk about that? I would honestly say this movie needs to be skipped for that scene.
That made me so mad.
My wife was like, you got to turn this off now. And I was like, there's 2 minutes left. We're fine.
Yeah.
And not only does he shoot Charles Dance's dog, then it does the thing that that no movie does because everybody knows you don't need to see it. But then they show, I guess it's like an animatronic dog that's kind of like wiggling, and it's got like it sounds like a shot blown out.
I fucking hate.
What the fuck were they thinking? Like that. Okay, so what you're trying to like beat us up? Why don't you just have him shave his mustache, look like Hitler, and parade around doing the Sieg Heil? Like I like you kind of mentioned, it's honestly almost unbelievable how quickly he heel turns in this movie.
Yes.
She's like, "Oh, you had checkered stockings," and he's like, "It was a long time ago. Now I'm gonna kill you." Like,
what was the whole checkered stockings thing? Did I miss something? Because I heard that line and I feel like a dumbass. Am I dumb for not understanding that?
There was something about somebody wearing checkered stockings who killed Charles Dance, and then the checkered stockings were being burned in the bonfire, and Joss Ackland goes, "Well, I never had checkered stockings," and then Greta Scacchi, like in the scene before the thing we're talking about where the dog gets murdered, she's like, it's the murder mystery thing where they, in the third act, right before the end, they see the one thing that catalyzes every clue and piece of information that they've seen. And she sees the picture from 20 years ago where they're like, "Oh, we were out in the bush hunting for lions." And there's, she goes, "What was that in the checkered stockings?" And he goes, "Well, that's your husband." And it's, of course, wearing checkered stockings. And she's like, the glass drop scene, the monster moment. And then that's how she knows. That's how she knows that he did it. And that's how then he knows that she knows that he did it. And that's what creates the whole final conflict of him chasing her and then just killing himself. Okay,
now I kind of hate this movie.
The reason I really have an issue with this movie is it's taking a stand and making inferences about a case that is actually unsolved still. And if you do any amount of research, you'll know that he wasn't the only suspect and he wasn't even the best suspect.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and also that like his lineage, like, because I didn't even, something that fascinated me, kind of haunted, is that his granddaughter, like his real life granddaughter, was this fashion sort of maven and stylist named Isabella Blow, who discovered Alexander McQueen. And many of the people, if you're into like high fashion stuff, which I'm not anymore, but I used to be, and she was just kind of this fabulous character. And it came from, I always knew she came from kind of a dysfunctional aristocratic type family, where basically like her father, when she turned 18, just like basically just kind of pushed her out, and she didn't get any money. And, she would run into like a rich cousin, and she'd be like, doing janitorial work. And they'd be like, "Oh dear Lord, what are you doing?" And she's like, "I'm cleaning. What do you think I'm doing?" Like, she's so awesome. And she worked her way up, and she ended up committing suicide. She tried to commit suicide several times, and what ultimately killed her was she drank weed killer.
Oh man,
which is fucked up. And and like her little brother, when she was a kid, like she had a 2-year-old brother that drowned, and like their mother, basically, when the parents divorced, the mother pretty much abandoned the kids, and it's like all this sad story. But it's like, but that's the thing, like aristocratic families tend to be in some ways even more dysfunctional and fucked up than, or are equally dysfunctional. Everybody thinks, oh, white trash are the only people, which is classist, first of all, that have dysfunctionality.
Yes, agreed.
But if you, and classism is evil. Anybody listening to this, it is awful. And but it's like the aristocratic, class, whether it's upper class over here or aristocrats there, are just as fucked up, if not even more so, because it tends to get even more just mired in the class structure of it all and the secrets of it all.
Well, look at the British royal family, right?
Right.
They're like hyper fucked up. And they're beyond rich. They're rich beyond, anybody's wildest dreams, but they're fucked up beyond belief. All of them, every single one of them. And then they start bringing people in who are just as fucked up as they are, or worse. So,
that never makes sense to me either. Cause like you read any amount of history and it's like, so we're supposed to like worship and be fascinated by these people whose their lineage literally has family trees that don't fork. Okay. Which again is something people make jokes, especially because Chris and I are both from the South. How many like incest jokes have you and I grown up hearing? I mean, I've made some of them too, but
I'm not above making a mom fucking her son joke. I'm not above.
I'm more. Sir,
what's the worst? What's the worst combination?
More about cousins.
Oh, okay. What's the worst combination? Is it anything involving like the immediate family? That's the bad ones, right?
Yes, nasty. It's all nasty.
But yet somehow that's the most searched shit on Pornhub, though. I in the South, we don't like it, but we'll jerk off to it.
I'd rather set myself on fire or watch White Mischief again.
That is a fate worse than death, is having to watch. And you know what the actual worst part about this movie is? It is 107 minutes long. It is almost 2 hours. And even though it's not, it feels like 3.
It does. But look at it this way. If this film came out now, it would be 3 hours long. So we should at least be grateful for that, right?
Right. Well, and that's what I was saying, and you kind of obviously kind of said it first, this movie, if it was a Ken Russell movie, it would have been 2 hours. If, say, Denis Villeneuve or Sam Mendes or whatever auteur were to take this idea and case and run with it, it would be like 2.5 hours.
At least
it could be. David Fincher could do an interesting version of this movie. I would watch that. I love David Fincher.
No, he said some good stuff. I mean, Ken Russell, 2 hours of Ken Russell feels like 20 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
Because it's so good and you're captivated. But that's the thing. If you're going to make your movie long, if you're going to make a movie, and this is in general, I actually been like, I posted something about Twitter on this recently. It's like, if it's going to be over 90 minutes, it better be good. Right. It better be, and there are films that are super long that I love. I'm not somebody that's like, oh, it's long, it sucks, but if you're going to go long, make it good. Because I just feel like there's a lot of movies that are way longer than they need to be.
I agree. I agree. Well, and what's funny is if you look at the other things that the people who made this movie have worked on, Michael Radford has worked on plenty of other things that were good. He wrote the screenplay for that adaptation of 1984 that we're going to be talking about next year. He wrote and directed The Postman, a movie that is rather critically acclaimed. I've never seen it, but I know that it's rather well received, well acclaimed. He was nominated for Best Director. He won a bunch of stuff at BAFTA for it. But like, what is this movie? Like, what is this movie trying to be is my question. And I'm not even sure it knows. I would actually wager a guess it doesn't know. No.
And I know. And I was thinking like that director seems familiar. And I looked up and I was like, oh my God, that adaptation 1984 is really good.
Mm-hmm. And I don't even really like the book. I actually don't like the book, but the movie is really good.
And John Hurt stars in it. So we get lots of John Hurt, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And this White Mischief it's, I've seen way worse, but I kind of resent it because of all the strengths it has and the lost potential of it all. You know, this could have been a really badass movie.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, like I kind of mentioned at the beginning with Deceiver, the last movie I talked about with Jess Byard. That movie had Chris Penn, Michael Rooker, and Tim Roth. Those are the three main leads in that movie. And that movie is just okay. It's better than this movie by a fucking country mile. But that movie has its own problems, which is, twisting itself into a knot with its kind of murder mystery nonsense, and then it has no idea how to untwist itself. This movie just never even attempts to give a shit about the murder mystery at the center of this story. It never really gives us a moment to look at all the suspects, to give us a moment as the audience to form our own ideas. It just goes, well, Joss Ackland's on trial for it, and there you go. And he got acquitted, and now he killed himself. And isn't that good enough for you? And it's like, that's not good enough for me. This is an 87. Like you have a lot of things at your fingertips here. And instead of doing any of them, they just go, well, we'll just make kind of this generic period piece. It's very generic. Like on top of it being a period piece, which I kind of can go either way on, it's very generic. Like nothing about this stands out other than the cast.
Yeah, no, agreed. And it is too bad. I'm kind of liking our version that is 90 minutes long. For starters, and it's got Oliver Reed and a different script.
It's just a different movie altogether. I would rather just watch The Devils again. I would rather watch Listomania, and I didn't really even like that movie.
Oh.
What was the other one? Whore? Let me fuck you in the ass. I'd rather watch that movie again than this. It's boring, like it's not even entertaining. The worst thing a movie can be is like a movie can be bad and I will still enjoy the shit out of it. If a movie is boring, like why even bother? Like really? But why even bother? Like, I watched a movie today for Bollywood Cinema Club, a show that we're launching next year. And it was not a great movie in a lot of ways, but it was beyond entertaining. I was entertained from start to finish. It was 2.5 hours long. Like you don't have to do much to be entertaining, but you really don't have to do much and literally nothing to be boring. And this movie does effectively nothing with a cast of people who some of these people still working today. Fucking Joss Ackland's still around. He's like 94. Yeah. He's still acting. A lot of the people in this movie are still acting or have done better things. Or have really done better things like John Hurt and Murray Head. But just like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Also, like, why didn't we have Murray Head do a musical number?
Right.
I'm dead serious.
I have no idea. The movie has the opportunity to not be this stuffy, stodgy, up its own ass movie. And it shouldn't have been. It should have been about having fun in Africa with these characters. And then some shit happens and everybody goes, holy shit, now things are serious. Instead, it's just, we're having fun, somebody dies, and then, somebody died. It's like, the good times are over. Like, him dying is the moment where everything shifts, and the good times are over. You know, the fun is over now. The party is over, because Charles Dance dies. Like, that's the inflection point of the movie, and I never even got a sense that they were having a good time before he died anyways, and that's the problem.
Yeah. No, agreed. And, it's just such a limp movie.
Yep, it is. It's just I kind of feel bad this month with the movies that I picked because again I kind of just did a grab bag, but this is the kind of movies that you run into in a grab bag type month where you're just watching things that you've never heard of. Neither one of us had heard of this movie. And we're both knowledgeable film watchers. I mean, you and I have been watching films combined, God knows how many years now, like between the two of us, right? Like we've watched God knows how many hours worth of movies. And like, this is one of the more boring movies I have ever seen.
I like to think that somebody listening is going to think that you and I are like these like ageless ghouls that have been watching.
Aren't we?
I mean, yeah.
As far as they know. as far as they've never seen what we look like. That's not true. They've seen me in a Teletubby outfit on the other show.
Which is amazing. That was a great costume, by the way.
Everybody saw it and I went, no shame. Zero fucking shame was had by me.
I mean, at least people knew what you were. I was trying to do a cool sort of stripy, like 1920s inspired clown. And I literally kept getting people being like, oh, is it Beetlejuice? And it's like, I don't have green hair. I don't have the makeup. I literally have Perot clown makeup.
But then you did the voice. You're like, hey, how you doing? Come here. Got some good for you. I grabbed my crotch. Yeah, I grabbed my crotch and said, nice fucking model. You offered them Zagnut bars?
Oh my God. Say,
that's my favorite part of that movie.
I love it. Sandworms, right? You hate them? I hate them myself. Actually, true story. When I was a little girl, I wanted to straight up marry Beetlejuice.
which that explains a lot.
It does. It's not shocking either. What? I'm sure thank God my mother was open-minded.
I mean, to be fair, when I was a kid, I wanted to be Beetlejuice. So
that's fucking rad.
Also explains a lot.
That's why we're great co-hosts.
Right.
And hosts together. It's the Beetlejuice energy.
And you know what's funny? Speaking of Beetlejuice, because this movie is not just written by Michael Radford, the other guy who is credited on this script, Jonathan Gems, he wrote a treatment for Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian.
Oh my God.
Or he was the one who wrote Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian. Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian exists because of Jonathan Gems, a joke that keeps on giving to this day.
Is his last name spelled Gems, like a precious gem?
Yeah.
Are we sure he's not a magician in Las Vegas? That's such a magician name. I love it.
It's me, Jonathan Gems.
That's right. Coming to the stage, Jonathan Gems.
He also worked on the script for Mars Attacks. He wrote the script for Mars Attacks.
I love Mars Attacks.
Really? I can't get down with that movie. I don't know what it is. You know what? I do know what it is. I saw that movie in Orlando while we were at Disney World at this like not hotel, but one of those like long stay places where it's like you're renting like a kind of an apartment condo thing. I remember seeing that movie. It scared the shit out of me as a kid. That's what.
Oh, wow.
That part where like Michael J. Fox gets like, the whole movie's fucked up. I mean, it's fucked up, but it's funny now. But one of those movies I definitely probably should revisit because it is a Tim Burton movie, and he directed Nightmare Before Christmas. Am I right? Fuck you, Harry Selick. Just kidding.
I feel so bad for Henry Selick.
I don't. He knew what was going to happen. You knew what was going to happen.
Does he at least get some of that sweet merch money?
Of course, I would hope. If he doesn't,
so.
You know what? If he doesn't, that's on him, as they would say.
Damn.
I don't know. This is a creative endeavor. Be careful. Especially when you're working with someone like Tim Burton.
Yeah.
It's like Tim Burton it's not like Tim Burton wasn't a big deal when they made that movie. He already was a big deal.
Well, Tim Burton's middle name should be Skullduggery, am I right?
God. Tim Burton. Yeah, well, Tim Burton hasn't made a good movie
since Mars Attacks.
In quite some time. Though Father Malone, I'm sure, would fight us on that about what was he going on and on about last time? Dumbo. That's what it was.
Yeah, that's a hard pass.
Yeah, I'm good. I don't need to see. Even though it has Michael Keaton in it.
I love Michael Keaton.
Nice fucking elephant. Now, if you said that, I would watch that. It's Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice in Dumbo.
Take my money.
Yeah.
Take my money.
Right now.
Oh my
With a special appearance by the trio or the quad of killer clowns from Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Oh my God.
Did we get talk about Dickies? Hot daddies. Maybe not. Too far. This may be going off topic, but I actually have a scenario. I sometimes me and my husband, we come up with little tiny micro stories just to entertain ourselves. And I came up with this one where these two kids have a quote unquote bad day at the Midway. And they go through a fun house and everything's pretty normal. Like it's a normal dark ride until the very end where all of a sudden they're confronted with Rashes the clown. And Rashes is a clown that is pantsless. He's got real scabby knees. He's got real jail tat looking like Tijuana Bible tattoos on his thighs. And he's got a huge, gross, gnarly wiener and an axe. And he chases everybody out of the funhouse yelling, "I'm going to fucking kill you." Would you say he has a gnarled clown knob?
Yes.
Like a shillelagh?
It's like his shillelagh and it's turgid and it looks like it's been through some wars.
Ugh, clown wars.
The Great Clown War of 1918.
Remember where you were during the Clown War of 2045?
I find clowns very fascinating. I never cared for them until the past few years, but clown imagery and where it shouldn't belong is kind of a sweet spot.
Heather was a huge fan of Daddy Wise, as they would call him.
No, I don't like that design.
Beep, beep, Richie.
No, he's got buck teeth.
He's spindly fucking spider body. It's weird.
He looks like a haunted house clown. And
it looks like Hot Topic clown is what it looks like.
Right. No, 100%. But clowns that are essentially ooh, I'm a scary clown. That is not scary. A clown, regular clown.
Put that in Spirit, when you stomp on the thing and the thing goes, ooh, I'm a scary clown. All right, I guess you are. Yeah. All right, I'll keep walking then. I'm a scary clown. Have you filed your taxes yet? It's like the clown that's just do you know about climate change and global warming? I'm a scary clown. Yeah.
It's the Al Gore clown. I invented the internet.
Goro the clown.
Oh my God. My wife's a hag that tried to censor rock music in the 80s.
She sure is, Goro the clown.
Yeah. Goro.
But he has to have 4 arms. He has to have 4 arms.
This is the shittiest spirit in the world. They have a skeleton, you step on it and it just rattles. I can't do a rattle.
Skeleton noise. It just says skeleton noise.
Have you seen there's an account called Paperback Paradise and they had a fake haunted house sound tape that's it's like a pornographic haunted house tape, and it says blood, featuring blood curdling comes,
featuring orgasms from beyond the grave.
Sexy
demons from the third circle.
Yeah,
Beelzebub tits and Belial. I don't know. Beelzebub, is that one?
Actually, there are 2 parodies of Beetlejuice.
God.
And one's called Beetlejuism.
Oh,
and one's called and what's called beetle cum. Now, one of them, I know somebody who's
not one called beetle cum.
No. It is. It exists. No, but one of them.
That's that's my fake fucking title. That's my go-to is just putting cum in the title somehow. You can't do that. That's lazy. Even for porn titles.
And if it's the one I'm thinking of, it has a great cover where it looks like a guy actually dressed up like Beetlejuice grabbing a butt. And you're like, okay.
Grabbing a butt.
But he's nowhere in the movie. It's such utter bullshit.
Why wouldn't it just be Buttlejuice?
Oh my God. And it's like the worst era of smut where it's just like, nobody's into what they're doing, and there's like horrible botched boob jobs, and it's sad.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And the music, it's wicked Weather Channel. Like it's Weather Channel music. And there's no Beatles, there's no Beetle cum, but the other one.
There's no Beetle cum. Like Beatles coming or Beetle cum.
Oh, gross.
You said Beetle cum. That's the name of the movie.
I'm a lady.
Okay. Is this after we've talked about all manner of horrifying viscera?
White mischief. Yeah.
It's white. All right. White mischief. Now coming to the ring. White mischief.
Yeah. Oh,
with Colonel Parker as his manager.
Oh my God. Could it be Charles Dance, but dressed like that? Who is that country singer that wears the fringe? Orville? Is it Orville Peck?
Orville Peck. Oh yeah.
It's Charles Dance, but instead of the mask, it's like he's wearing like a little like loincloth that's just a little fringe, and he shakes his like British hips, and you see his little Charles Dance dancing.
Oh, you see the dance, you see the Charles. He puts the Charles in Charles Dance.
He's the Charles in charge.
Yeah. God, it's it's a movie that I'm glad that I watched, only because now I know to never watch it again.
There you go. See, that's the glass is half full, and I like that. That's very positive.
I never have to watch it again. I have done my duty to society in giving everyone the opportunity to watch along with us, and not. Because this movie also, on top of everything else, and the one thing we haven't mentioned, damn near impossible to find.
Oh my God. It's barely more findable than The Day the Clown Cried. It's ridiculous how out of print this movie is. I think it's on DVD in like Germany or somewhere like that.
Wow.
But it's really, and again, it's not obviously, we're not fans of this movie, but I mean, there are films that are objectively worse that are like on Blu-ray than,
plenty of Michael Bay stuff.
Ugh.
I mean, anything, even I would rather watch a Michael Bay film than this movie, because it's just not entertaining. It's just not entertaining.
I don't think I could go. This is still shorter than most of Michael Bay's movies.
That's fair.
I would rather watch Samurai Cop, because that movie is legit entertaining and it's not long. Have you seen Samurai Cop?
No, man. I don't want to say no. I think we did an episode on it a long time ago.
It's a lot of fun. I'm not saying it's good, but it's fun. Oh, Vampire Cop's another one.
Anything, like, and I wanted to mention, because if you look and read and do some research, there, do you know who optioned this film?
Lily Tomlin.
Mike White. Not our Mike White, but a man named Michael White, who also produced all kinds of stuff, but not that Michael White either.
He produced Rocky Horror Picture Show.
And Monty Python.
It's Shock Treatment. Holla.
Yeah. And what else? Something else. Nuns on the Run.
Oh my God. Yeah, he has a cameo. If anybody listening to this is a fan of British comedy, there is that show, The Comic Strip. That's like most of the cast of The Young Ones, plus Jennifer Saunders and Dawn French. And they did one where it's one of my favorite, where Ade Edmondson plays this guy named oh God, he plays like this horrible like comic from South Africa, or gets banned in South Africa. It's like, why am I blanking? Eddie Monsoon. And he has this whole bit of like, in my token penis.
What the fuck?
And he kisses it. But Michael White has a cameo in that. In that particular episode. It always makes me laugh. And Ade Edmondson is a treasure. I would highly recommend watching any of the comic strip over White Mischief.
I would rather watch anything over White Mischief, really.
Or watch The Young Ones. Come on. Young Ones are have you seen The Young Ones? Oh, you should totally watch it. It's so
watch
good.
The EastEnders even. Like, just watch anything. Like, there's so many better British things to watch involving Brits. Like, go
Spice World.
Hey, I would rather watch that movie.
Actually, I saw a clip from Spice World recently that made me want to watch it.
Have you never seen it?
Actually, I've never seen it. No. But the whole like the shot of the bus, like where they have like this climactic thing where the bus is trying to get over the bridge.
Yeah.
That little clip had me laughing so hard. I'm like, maybe I need to see Spice World.
I don't remember disliking it, but I also remember seeing it at an age that I shouldn't have, aka like whatever age I would have been the year it came out, which is like 7,
last week.
7 or 8, 6, 7 or 8, something like that. So yeah, we should have talked about that. We should have just had it be White Mischief and talked about Spice World.
Oh my God.
Yeah, next time it'd be like, hey, this movie really sucks. You just want to do Spice World instead.
Yeah, I want to do Spice World. Meatloaf's in it. And Richard O'Brien. Richard O'Brien's in Spice World.
And Elton John.
See, I love Elton John.
And Hootie and the Blowfish. Or at least Hootie.
I have a friend who pissed off Darius Rucker years ago at a bar because my friend admittedly was very drunk and started yelling, "Hey, Hootie."
Hootie who? Hootie who? Yeah, sir, we would like for this is a Kroger, sir.
Yeah. Sir, this is Walgreens. You have to ask you to leave.
Stop screaming at the poor lead singer of Hootie and the Blowfish in line buying his fucking Marlboros, please.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Final thoughts on White Mischief, Heather?
It has strong elements of it, but ultimately it's tepid. It's not the worst thing in the world, but would I recommend it as a whole? I would only if you're a completist for some of these actors or Roger Deakins, but that otherwise, no, you don't need to see it. You're fine.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's white people in it and there's mischief, but not enough mischief it should be White Mischief in smaller font. Because it's
tiny.
Because there's not enough mischief, but yeah, the cast is white and everybody's white for the most part. And they're all white people in Africa doing rich white people things. Great. But that can't stand, man. Like, that's not enough for me to even get excited. Yeah, Charles Dance, Greta Scacchi, fucking Joss Ackland, but nothing. Nobody is given enough to do where I'm like, this is fun. This is a good movie. And it's almost 2 hours. So totally worth a skip. Unfortunate because I was expecting... similarly to Deceiver, I was expecting a hell of a lot more, and I was very, very disappointed.
Yeah, well, and to be that long and still leave us feeling like we hardly saw anything of interest, especially with the characterization, that's not good. No, not a good sign.
Not good at all. So speaking of problematic movies, let's play a preview for the next Kulturecast of November.
America is a mess. We need someone to clean it up. And his name is Bob. Bob Roberts, millionaire businessman, fencing enthusiast, recording artist, and senatorial candidate.
But they'll complain and complain and complain. Here was a man that not only had a brilliant mind and a wonderful wit, but could also sing. This land is my land.
Bob has a great vision for the future of our country. And a great vision for the future of the children of our country.
Hey, mister, can I see your gun?
He's amazing. He's a poet and a genius.
Ladies and gentlemen, why can't you get ahead?
She's a beautiful girl.
Why can't you have the home of your dreams?
Miss 3 Mile Island.
Wall Street rap. Takes a loan from a Midwestern.
The 60s are over, said Roberts.
I couldn't agree more, Donna.
I'm sorry, but I wouldn't vote for you if my life depended on it.
Are you a communist?
Excuse me?
Paramount Pictures presents with Miramax Films, Bob Roberts, a man with a solution.
Choice to be what you want to be. And I want to be rich.
That's what politics is really about.
Make your judgments if you must.
Bob Roberts. Because Bob spelled backwards is still Bob.
I just wish there was a way I could vote for you 100 times.
Oh, there is, actually.
Really?
Yes. Just kidding.
Starting on the next Kulturecast, we're going to be talking about Bob Roberts, a movie that we're not totally living in now or anything. Oh, Oh, yeah. It's woof, said the dog. And we're going to be talking about Bob Roberts, which is a Tim Robbins movie. And if you've never heard of it, it may take the place for everybody says we're living in idiocracy. I think we're living in Bob Roberts. That's what I think we're living in. So that's what we're going to be talking about on the next episode. Until then, Heather, people were looking for you on the internet. Where could they find you?
You can find me over on my website, which is, colickyjones.com. Now it's also called allergies. No, you can find me on mondoheather.com. Of course, I'm on Twitter for the time being before it implodes, possibly.
Every week we're making that joke, and some week we won't have to because it'll be gone.
It'll be gone, or it'll just be like a Twinkie in a nuclear war. Just,
It persists, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, like a rash.
Yeah.
But you can find me over that rash, as well as Instagram, and I have a Patreon account all of this is under at Mondo Heather.
As for me, you can find me at weirdingwaymedia.com, which is my podcast network that I started with Mike White. We have a bunch of shows over there. This one, Mike's show, all kinds of shows. So go over there, Weirding Way Media. If you can't find something you like, you don't like the right things. I don't know. Patreon.com/Kulturecast is where you can go to find this show. If you want to donate, Kulturecast.com, all those things. Big thanks to our Patreon supporters and all that good stuff. Just like, rate, and review the show. That's all you really need to do if you don't want to get involved financially. Heather, thank you so much for joining me, as always.
Thank you. It's my pleasure, as always.
And we'll see you on the next episode.